It's basically exchanges, like cultural exchanges, mainly between women farmers from Canada and France and Belgium, with women farmers in Nicaragua, in Central America, and Honduras. And that was basically because at that time there were discussions going on at the global level between, big countries, European Union and the United States, around the agenda of what they call free trade in agriculture. So that's like the mass movement of food and agricultural products across borders, and basically these discussions amongst these farmers in Central America and Canada and Europe were from farmers who felt they were going to be really harmed by that whole agenda because it was seen as something that was going to benefit the biggest farmers and also corporations. So that's where the idea of food sovereignty, I guess, was really born as a new sort of social movement and a new form of language, I guess, a new discourse. That was really about the idea that food and agriculture is so important to our societies for so many reasons that it's something that needs to be really more democratic. And that what has happened is that all, the most important decisions are being taken in a very undemocratic way, behind closed doors in boardrooms and really, to benefit certain, vested interests. But what's needed is a reorientation of, the whole system so that it really becomes about, it goes from a situation where it's mainly focused on making money and economic growth. And if you look at any of the language, in newspapers or radio discussions in Australia, it's all about, being globally competitive and raising levels of productivity and boosting growth and boosting exports and, just like on and on, that whole kind of, agenda is very heavily discussed and promoted. And so what the food sovereignty agenda is about saying we need to actually reorient our priorities based on some certain key values, and that's the idea that food and agriculture is about, or should be about, promoting our own health and well-being as individuals and as a society, and caring for our environment, for our ecosystems. And that should be those things should be the first order priorities. And then, the question of sort of economics and profit and money and all that is lower down the list of priorities.
So
that's basically
profit.
So you've got these two competing visions or narratives really about one that's about, everything is about money and profit, and the other, and that, obviously, food is produced as part of the process and people buy food, but the main thing is about profit and money. It's not about necessarily people's health or well-being or care of the environment. And so we would say the consequences of that are very visible. We look around us. We've got this massive obesity pandemic. We've got 2 billion people in the world who are malnourished and not getting, the recommended sort of daily requirement of nutrients, of vitamins and minerals. And we've got massive, ecological problems, from pollution of water to, massive runoff of chemicals causing dead zones in the ocean, to overfishing, to climate change, everywhere you look, deforestation. It's just like a huge raft of problems that are the result of a system